dress flip-flops on, singing to that highway song. Got a little naive smile, the kind that drives you out. Nothing like playing with fire, bring the sport alive. Be with the fuse you light, get good, you're dynamite. You made my day when you.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this 25th day of September 2023. Today's show, and as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com and the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com for all your baseball tickets, football tickets, hockey tickets. Got everything going on right now. Might as well get yourself some Swifty tickets too while you're at it. Shoes at a football game yesterday. We'll get to that down at the bottom of that one in about 5 minutes or so. But anyways, best time of year to be a sports fan. I don't know if you guys should listen to the show the other night with Dave and I were talking about just the this time of year. You got the college football and NFL in full swing. Obviously, the Major League Baseball playoffs are right around the corner. The last week of the regular season begins today with some great races still up for grabs there. The divisions are all basically done, but the wild card races, the way they baseball set it up a few years back to have the 3 wild card teams now, and then going down the last week of the season, it's going to be a great little stretch run here. It's been a fantastic weekend. Lots going on. Lots of really weird stuff happened in the world of sports over the weekend. It's just a great time of year to be a sports fan. You can't get enough. There's always a game on, not enough TVs, not enough time, not enough anything to watch everything that you want to watch. But I had a few things over the weekend that I thought were quite interesting. Some highlights and lowlights, everything else. We'll get up onto those right here in the category of it's time to just go away and take your mediocre football team with you. I got the Colorado Buffaloes. They got stomped over the weekend too by the Oregon Ducks. The number 9 Oregon Ducks took it to Colorado to hopefully get the relevancy train going for Colorado and say see you later, and everybody jump on that bus. The Buffaloes got smoked 42-6, which could have been a lot worse. Oregon did not play a bunch of starters in the second half. Was 35-0 at halftime. Was never a contest. Coach Prime, his team was never in this one, and hopefully it'll slow the media train, all the media hype around this Colorado team down. Prime won't shut up. He never has. He never will. Neon Dion. I still call him Neon, not Prime time. But anyways, it won't slow him down. But the media train and the next coming of Caleb Williams, next coming of Reggie Bush in Coach Prime's son. That should go away. He's not winning a Heisman Trophy this year. There's no way that Shedeur Sanders should have been in the Heisman Trophy talk at all. They took a few mediocre teams. Yes, they did have that big win against Texas, against TCU to open up the season. But next week when the USC plays Colorado, you're going to see that Colorado rivalry train or Colorado relevancy train getting derailed 100%. As I think my USC Trojans are going to stomp on the Colorado Buffaloes next week in Boulder. It shouldn't be pretty. It's going to be ugly. I think that USC's got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They didn't play a great game. We'll get to that in half a second. But I got a little bone to pick a little bit with the Fox network for whatever reason. They decided to put a team that's not very good in the Colorado Buffaloes on that big stage at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. So it's a noon start Eastern Time. But having a team I'm glad that USC is playing, but I'd rather have USC playing a little later in the day so I can have a few beers while I'm watching the football game and everything that goes on. Having those two teams playing at 10 in the morning local time is ridiculous. It's a stupid idea. I know it's for money and everything else, but have Prime in that slot on Fox. It's usually a Big Ten game, so I think it's quite ridiculous that they have the USC Trojans Trojans and the Colorado Buffaloes playing at noon Eastern time in that game on television. I think it's a ridiculous time slot. I know it's for money. I know it's for all that stuff, but I think it's a big waste of time. And a lot of fans out in California, they'll just be shaking off the cobwebs the night before, and they won't be able to enjoy the game as they usually do. I'm sure a lot of people will be starting their tailgate barbecues and everything else, have a brunch instead of a bratwurst or a hamburger or a hot dog, whatever it might be. But I think it's a terrible idea by the NCAA and whoever makes the choices at Fox. And I know it's for money and advertising. And Neon Dion Primetime, he's a ticket seller and gets people's eyeballs on things. But that team is going to be shown how irrelevant they are come next week when they face my USC Trojans, who had a bit of a rough one this weekend. But basically, speaking of my USC Trojans, it was a perfect weekend for the Trojan family. They won 42-28, a game that wasn't greatly played. Their defense was a little bit sloppy for sure. Caleb Williams was okay, but he had a bit of a struggle. Their defense struggled a lot, but they got the win, and that's the main thing. I think they'll still stay at number 5 in the standings, in the NCAA rankings, in the football rankings, and have a chance of doing some damage throughout the rest of the playoffs. I do think that they're going to destroy Coach Prime next week and the Colorado Buffaloes, because I think that sometimes Prime's yap gets him and his team in trouble. I know it's just for clicks and everything else, and to try to be relevant and all it is, and get the media hype going and NIL money and all that stuff. But I think that the USC Trojans are going to find themselves on a big win next weekend in Boulder. And what made this a perfect weekend or perfect day for the USC Trojans and their fan base, and it's a term that's used not often enough in my opinion, because they don't get a lot of perfect days. But what happens is that when for a perfect day in USC, you have to have a Notre Dame loss and a UCLA loss, and both teams lost this weekend along with the USC win. You had the perfect weekend, the perfect storm. You had the Notre Dame Fighting Irish losing at home to Ohio State in a kind of a lackluster football game. Good defense and everything else. 17-14, I think, was the final on that one. And UCLA, they lost on the road in Utah in a really boring game, 14-7. So it was a perfect weekend for the USC Trojans, with Notre Dame losing and FUCLA losing, and then the USC winning, like I said, in a 42-28 fashion over the Arizona State Sun Devils. So that was a great weekend for the Trojans. They're 5-0 or 4-0. They have a good shot at doing some damage this year in the playoffs and everything else. In Major League Baseball this weekend is a great weekend of baseball. The Texas Rangers basically they shoved it up my rear end, because I said they were going to be the team that's going to be on the outside looking in, but they now have a 2.5 game lead over Houston and a 3 game lead over Seattle after sweeping the Mariners over the weekend. I had the Rangers being out of contention a week ago, but turns out I don't know anything the way it turns out with that American League West. I think everybody's been, the last 2 to 3 weeks, everybody's been wrong about this, counting teams out and counting everybody else going on there. So it's a lot that can happen in this next week coming up with the Rangers having that sweep over the Mariners, like I said. Now you have the Houston Astros, only they're a half game out, I think, of the whole thing. But you have the Houston Astros going into Seattle for a pivotal series tonight, starting in Seattle. It's going to be a tough one. Justin Verlander's taking the hill for the Houston Astros. They got the hired gun for this reason at the trade deadline from the Mets, and that was that horrible thing, that horrible division and everything else going on with the Mets. But it should be interesting. This last week of the baseball season should be a lot of fun. 6 of 12 playoff spots are filled so far. Baltimore, Tampa, Minnesota in the American League. You got Atlanta, Milwaukee, and the Dodgers in the National League. I think Toronto, they have a 2-game spot up right now. They had a pretty good weekend. They should have won all 3 games in that series against Tampa Bay. They blew one on Saturday there, but they got a good shot at making the playoffs now. They have the lowly New York Yankees coming into Skydome or Rogers Center this week, to starting a series tomorrow, I think it is, for 3 games. So they should be able to wrap that up and get themselves into a wild card spot, maybe rest a pitcher or 2 and set their rotation up for the wild card round that's coming up starting next week, this time next week or Tuesday next week. So that should be interesting. And we won't talk about the Yankees. So maybe later on this week we'll talk about the Yankees a little bit and see how that one went, and see how we'll talk about that and see where it all went wrong. I think everybody knows that roster construction was really bad with the Yankees, but that series over the next weekend, you have the Mariners and the Rangers finishing up the season with 4 games starting on Thursday to wrap the season up. So nothing's done in that American League West with the wild card spot. You got 2 spots for 3 teams. Basically, how it's going on. Like I said, I think the Jays are going to be okay. They'll get a couple more wins. You got to get to 90, and you should be okay. But you want to get some wins now and have it all done. National League wild card's also going to be a fantastic race right to the bitter end. Arizona, the Cubs, and Miami are all within a game and a half of each other. Look out, because the Cubs have the powerhouse Braves right now, and the Marlins are going to play the Mets. So what are the Braves going to play anybody? Who knows? Because they clinched their playoff spot. Are they going to just sit things out? It's yet to be seen how that's all going to play out. Cincinnati may have played themselves out of a wild card spot. They're 2.5 games out. They had an atrocious weekend this weekend, losing 2 or 3 to Pittsburgh. I think it was a 14-13 game on Saturday night at home in Cincinnati, which is probably Joey Votto's last games in Cincinnati. The way it's all going to turn out. He gave a bit of a post-game speech when it was all said and done, saying, "Thanks for the memories, everybody. I'm probably heading down the highway and packing my crap and going home. I think he'll probably just retire. He's a free agent at the end of the year, but I think he'll just call it good, and that'll be it for the Joey Votto era in Cincinnati." And Clayton Kershaw, he pitched his last regular season game for the Dodgers, I think on Friday night in that series that they had with the San Francisco Giants. Hell of a series there. The Dodgers are such a class organization. I love them. I hope that Kershaw gets a couple of starts in the playoffs for the Dodgers. I hope they don't put him in the bullpen, because that never works. Putting a guy in the bullpen. You remember a few years back when they had Kershaw come out of the bullpen, and it went disastrous, and they ended up losing that ball game, and people were pointing their finger at Kershaw. And I guess you could, but you're not a bullpen guy. Your body's not trained that way. But Kershaw pitched his last regular season start. You hope that he can ride off in the sunset with a World Series championship, an actual one, not like that 2021 that they won in the COVID year in the bubble, and had all on and on it went. And we'll look back on those ones in years to come and go, what the hell happened there? Like, I'm not against it. It was just an odd scenario that was going on there in 2020 with COVID and baseball and sports in general. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I still think that the Rangers are going to be the odd team looking out for some reason. I don't know why. They start a weekend series week series tonight or tomorrow. No, it's tonight with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, or whatever you want to call them. I don't even know what the team's name is anymore, but that team's an absolute disaster. It's going to be interesting to see how that all rolls out. But a great week of baseball coming up. Lots of playoff implications throughout the game. There's a game later on this morning with my New York Yankees that rained out over the weekend, so they're playing their last game in the Bronx today to wrap up their home schedule. What a disaster. Maybe on Thursday I'll do a Yankees post-mortem and see what's going to happen there with my New York Yankees moving forward. Anyways, the National Football League. What a lot going on in the National Football League yesterday. Lots going on, but there was the biggest news, and I'm not talking Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce being at all the buzz, as Miss Swift attended the Chiefs game yesterday and sat in the, I'm presuming Travis Kelce's suite. The whole thing with the Kelce and the Swiftie and everything else, it's going to be interesting to see how that all going to turn out. But that was the biggest news on Twitter yesterday. There's Miss Swift right there jumping up and down after Kelce scored a touchdown. It was kind of his Twitter was all a buzz. Deanne, she doesn't watch football at all, but she was laughing because Swiftie was trending on Twitter and saw the whole thing, and she was kind of laughing at the whole Taylor Swift thing with Travis Kelce, and see how that's going to turn out. That's going to be a budding relationship, or just a couple of friends who are going to hang out. I don't really care a whole bunch. The girl can sing a hell of a pop song, but here's hoping nothing going down. But to me, the biggest news was the absolute beatdown. The Miami Dolphins gave the Denver Broncos 70-20. That's right, 70. Karma is a bitch, and Sean Payton's finding that out the hard way. Bad-mouthing other coaches in the offseason, to me, is a no-no. And Payton is finding out the hard way and leaving his number one quarterback in the entire game. Russell Wilson, I know he's got some problems there with Wilson, but leaving him in for the entire 70-point beatdown, losing by 50 in a game, you should probably have your spares in and your third and fourth stringers getting some playing time, but leaving Russell Wilson in there to take the brunt of this defeat. And it's a defensive thing. It's a coaching thing. I don't think it's the Russell Wilson situation. I think this is a Sean Payton thing, and the guy should just shut his yap and let this go. I'm sure Dave and I will have a lot to talk about this game tonight. We do our 1420 Sports Bar podcast. So seeing Payton lose, I think it's justified. I think it's karma. I think it's everything else. I love it. $18 million coach who isn't getting it done so far. 0-3. Their season's over. You can put a bow on that one for the year, and they're done. The Denver Broncos, another disastrous season, got off to the get-go. I think that they are done. I've got Denver, Chicago, Minnesota, and Carolina. That Chicago team is atrocious. They got beat bad by Kansas City yesterday, and you just don't know where that team is going. They're all 0-3. And how does the Dallas Cowboys lose to the Arizona Cardinals? This Dallas Cowboys team just can't get out of their own way. They're 2-1 now. I thought they would win that game yesterday. I was almost going to take Arizona in my survivor pool, but I didn't. I went with Buffalo winning, or I thought not Dallas in the survivor pool, sorry. But I took Buffalo, so I'm still alive in the belly up survivor pool. So that's a good thing. Anyways, it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. Will Cincinnati get a win tonight? I doubt it. I hope not. I hope old Joey Burrow, Joe Cool takes a loss, and they go to 0-3, and their season will be done as well. So that's it for the National Football League. There's a lot going on there. Interesting weekend in the football, in the NFL. And a lot of teams that you thought didn't really have a chance are 2-1, and some are 1-2. You got to think the Jets are a bloody mess. That Zach Wilson, the MILF hunter there, he had a rough go with it. That bench was in turmoil yesterday. They were yelling at each other. Offensive coordinators are yelling at players. Players are yelling at each other. It's an absolute disaster there with Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood gone for the year with that Achilles tendon situation. And to end things off over the weekend, we had the National Hockey League. They got going. There was 10 preseason games last night, and there's a lot of fan base that are like, whatever, it's just a hockey game. But the thing last night, the Calgary Flames defeated the Vancouver Canucks 10-0. You have Vancouver people wanting to jump off bridges out there in Vancouver, in British Columbia. You have people wanting to hang themselves. You want a lot of questions being answered already. They're hitting the panic buttons out there in Vancouver. I wouldn't put too much stock into these preseason games. Usually the home team will dress all of their starters and all their stars, and the visiting team will come up with a bunch of guys who won't play another game in the National Hockey League. It's just the way it goes in the NHL. I wouldn't put any stock into a game like this meaning anything. I wouldn't put any stock into to the goaltending, anything. It's just a game. I wouldn't want to make a habit of this in the preseason, but because you get used to losing, and then it can be a pretty bad feeling. So, but you don't want to lose 10-0 a whole bunch. But you get one of these in the preseason. I think they get six games, so you can come and put something together later on. They'll be okay out there in Vancouver. I'm going to do a top three or a bottom three, I guess, later on this week, starting tomorrow. Bottom three or three teams that aren't making the playoffs for sure in each conference. I'm going to do the Western Conference tomorrow, and I'll do the Eastern Conference on Wednesday in 14:20 in the morning of teams that aren't making the playoffs. That'll be a lock. I can guarantee you can put some money on that wherever you do your sports betting. But I bet US is a good place to do that. But I'm going to do that later on this week for teams that aren't making the playoffs. And I think the Vancouver Canucks are one of those teams. Anyways, a great weekend of the world of sports. Lots going on. There's lots more going on. Playoff race are heating up in baseball. Football's a thing. Get college football, which I adore, is in full swing. Lots going on out there. I got a couple wrong this week. I had Alabama losing to Ole Miss, and Alabama just did what Alabama does, and they won 27-10. I think it was when that one was all said and done. And I got the Notre Dame game right, so that was a good thing. But anyways, you get a whole bunch right and a whole bunch wrong. It's still 25 times 0 is still 0. You don't make any money when you get some of those wrong. But anyways, that's it for the weekend in sport. Here's a little word from our friends from SeatGeek.
The foul baller. If there's a ball that's gone foul, he's gone to get it. Under his watchful gaze, all bevs, binoculars, and ballpark brats are safe. He's the only thing that stands between his section and certain destruction. That's why he only trusts SeatGeek with his tickets. The ticketing app trusted by fans. SeatGeek, so fans can fan.
Make sure you use that promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. It helps our show quite a bit. Thank you very much to our long-time sponsor, SeatGeek. Anyways, let's get to Brent's Best Bet, brought to you by BetUS. Get where the game begins. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. We got two Monday nighters in the NFL and a huge baseball game in the American League West tonight. Got a battle of 2-0 teams tonight at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa with the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Take Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to win tonight. Baker Mayfield, his stats are actually pretty good this year, but take the Eagles to win tonight. Then we got the LA Rams traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. Take the Rams tonight to send the Bengals to 0-3 on the season. And in the major leagues of professional baseball, the Houston Astros are in Seattle to start a 3-game set. That's huge playoff implications throughout. Lots going on. Justin Verlander, he'll outduel Luis Castillo of the Mariners tonight. So take the Houston Astros to win. Should be a great game tonight. So take the Eagles, the Rams, and the Astros. Put down 20 and win yourself $100.98 at America's favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, and get 125% sign-up bonus by using our promo code 1420 BetUS at BetUS.com. There'll be a link up in the show's notes as well. So make sure but if you're going to play, make sure you play responsibly. That's the big thing. Don't bet what you can't, for food and everything else. So if you're going to play responsibly. If you're and America's favorite sports book, BetUS.com, where the game begins.
I've been to 56 straight home games.
I've tailgated 61 times.
I've been to 31 practices. I've collected 17 autographs.
I've had 27 beer spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've got one sports book.
I've got one sports book. I've got one sports book.
BetUS.com.
All right, BetUS.com. And make sure if you're going to play responsibly. Let's get to some birthdays and get you guys out of here. Birthdays, and on this day in 2014, Derek Sanderson Jeter played his final game at Yankee Stadium as New York Yankees faced the Baltimore Orioles in front of 48,613 fans. In the Bronx, Jeter would go 2 for 5 in the game with 3 RBIs, including his 19th double of the season. But the game forever be known for Jeter's last at-bat. Who could forget it? 9th inning walk-off single that scored Anton Richardson from second base. In true Jeter fashion, he slapped a first pitch single out to right field, and the place went crazy and the like. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Now, I can't believe it's been 9 years since the captains left our presence out there in the Bronx and in pinstripes anyways. The post-game on-field celebration was fantastic, including some old friends, Yankee legends, members of the Core Four, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettit, Burn, baby Burn was there, Bernie Williams, and so was Tino Martinez. Mr. T, Joe Torre was also in attendance for that game. So on this day in 2014, Derek Jeter played his final game at Yankee Stadium, one for the ages and one I'll never forget. I got to go to the Derek Jeter game on the day on September 7th. It was 2014 against Kansas City. It wasn't much of a game. The Yankees weren't very good that season, and Kansas City was. So congratulations to Derek Jeter on this day. Well, a moment you'll never forget. Like, he just Mr. October, and on it goes, and the captain and everything else. The guy that he's a legend in the Yankees in pinstripe and baseball and everything else, in the class act throughout his career. And what else we got? Happy 52nd birthday to San Francisco 49ers GM and Football Hall of Famer John Lynch. Lynch was born on this day in Hinsdale, Illinois, before moving with his family to California. He played baseball and football at Stanford University for the Cardinals, the color, not a thing. Lynch was drafted in both sports. In baseball, the Florida Marlins in the second round of the 92 Major League Baseball draft and the third round of the NFL draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lynch would go on to play 15 NFL seasons, 11 in Tampa Bay and 4 in Denver, and was selected to 9 Pro Bowls and won 1 Super Bowl in 2003 with the Buccaneers in a 48-21 victory over the Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl 37. Lynch is currently general manager of the San Francisco 49ers and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio in 2021. Happy birthday, happy 52nd birthday to John Lynch. That guy could flat out play. He was a great football player. So yeah, he was a vicious guy. Too bad he went to Stanford. I don't like Stanford. I say something really demeaning, but I'm not going to say it this morning. Trying not to swear at 14:20 in the morning. Anyways, thank you very much for listening to the show. Thank you very much for following us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel today for all our great articles and our great shows and everything else. And make sure you go to bellyupsports.com. That's the important one, bellyupsports.com, because we're part of the Belly Up Media Network. They've got great articles there. Great other podcasts are on there as well. So make sure you get on top of that and everything else. But the busy day here, 1420 World Headquarters. We got something else coming up in the very near future that kind of just fell into our lap. So we're hoping to get that out to you guys in the next day or so. But make sure you guys tune in tomorrow to our the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. I'm sure Dave will be revved up as his Denver Broncos took that 70-20 beating yesterday. Should be a lot of laughs to listen to Dave tonight and him ranting and raving about his Denver Broncos. And yeah, it's kind of funny. it's poetic, and I think it's karma. I really, really do. Anyways, always remember, guys, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Have a good day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with the sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up